Hey everyone! Today I am joined with my good friend and a fellow YouTuber, Lacey.
Hi.
I like to refer to her as the goddess of domesticity. It's a special word we're using today.
Goddess of domesticity. Yes, that is me.
So today we're going to be talking about a seminar that we attended recently. So, as many of you know, me and Lacey train with my fiance, Sonny Puzikas, and he reached out to a Jiu-Jitsu guy because he really admired how he went about knife defense on the ground. And he approached him because he liked that Eli was not too boxed in to the dogma of a particular system. As he said so himself, he identifies as a Jiu-Jitsu guy, so that's the background that he comes from. And he does a lot of really good work on the ground, and so he invited him to Dallas, and so we were just going to talk about our takeaways from the seminar, maybe do a few very short demonstrations because we are not experts at Jiu-Jitsu by any means. So first of all, what were your biggest takeaways from working with a Jiu-Jitsu guy? Because I'm not sure if you've ever done Jiu-Jitsu.
No, I haven't, and it is a different way to kind of move than what I'm used to, and it didn't come naturally. And it was a lot of, was it quicker movements, you think? Or the movements were...
Well, the movements are more limited on the ground. A lot of people don't realize how disoriented you can be when you're on the ground.
Right.
Yeah, and I can't quote Eli exactly. I'll probably butcher the way he explained it, but as humans, we're designed to be upright, standing on two legs. So unless we train and become familiar with what it's like to be in reverse, being upside down, basically being on the ground, it's very disorienting. And so it was really important. You realize the importance of learning to train on the ground.
Right. And with being women, you're likely to wind up on the ground, and it is a more vulnerable position to be in. So I think groundwork helps you be vulnerable in that way, kind of physically, but also mentally as well. And I think a lot of people don't like groundwork because they don't like to feel vulnerable like that.
And it's very taxing work to be on the ground. When you think, oh, you're not up and running around and stuff, so it's not going to be too tiring, it's actually exhausting. Trying to figure out how to move someone else's body, having that weight on you, constantly trying to figure out which muscles to engage to be able to create the space to be able to move around someone and eventually be able to get up. It is exhausting, and it's very, as women, I think in general, we don't like to be that close.
Right.
To people, especially men we're unfamiliar with.
This is something that I talked about when we were doing our live, is that when you're a woman and you're training with men and you have to get that close physically, it's difficult. it's not only difficult work, you know, to actually do the work, but it's difficult to get that close because we like our personal space, and it just feels kind of odd when you're so close to somebody physically, but it's important to kind of face that because an attacker won't care that you like your personal space.
So I really wanted Lacey to be in this video with me because I've been trying to think of ways to help encourage more women to get into this kind of training. And sometimes it feels like, you know, it goes against what women are interested in. And Lacey is a traditionalist, so she's very into gender roles. And I was curious, do you think women, especially those who are a little strict about gender roles, do you think that they feel like pursuing self-defense is not what they're supposed to do? Like the rough and tumble physical stuff should be for men?
I think some of them feel that way, or they might not feel that they have the time because there's other things that we're doing. You know, if it's a traditional woman, she's homemaking. A lot of homemakers today homeschool as well.
Mm-hmm.
So homemaking and homeschooling and domesticity is going to be the number one priority, and then it's hard to get something like training into your schedule. And then if they enter it, they might be like, oh, I actually have to get sweaty, or I have to be up against this man, and it was rough, and it was, you know. So I think that might be a barrier or some sort of hurdle. But I think that women today realize that feminism is talking about toxic masculinity, and they're talking about rape culture. So in one way, in opposition to, you know, the lack of personal responsibility that feminists have, is to take up personal responsibility in training. So I think that is a way that you can get women who maybe are traditional or anti-feminist to get into training, is to kind of talk about personal responsibility.
I think that is a good idea. I found that feminism in general has turned into the outright rejection of personal responsibility. If anything wrong happens to you, it's because of sexism, racism. You're a victim of society, or a victim of something else. And I do find with traditional women, you know, especially you, that you do want to, these women want to be accountable for themselves. They want to be accountable for their children. And maybe that would be a good angle, and I love that angle.
Right, and it's not only just accountable for yourself, though. If you're a traditional woman, you probably have a family, and while, you know, the hierarchy in traditionalism is that the man is the head of the house, and you have the wife under, and then you have the children, but as the man protects the entire family, the woman will protect the children. So you might have a scenario where he's going off and dealing with the primary threat, and then the woman is also dealing with, like, maybe a secondary threat, or having to protect the children. That's where survival skills will come into play, when a woman will need to know how to survive and protect her children. Also, traditional women have stake in the preservation of the head of the house. If, you know, I talked about this just recently with an egalitarian on my channel, is that stripped down to a purely biological, you know, of course we all love our husbands and all that, but purely biological, you know, that, you know, women are looking for resources, and without the welfare state, without welfare state saying, here are your resources, without feminism saying, here are your resources, without government saying, here are your resources, biologically speaking and purely survival instincts, women have a stake in the head of the house staying alive, for providing, for protecting, so it's not just he goes off and deals with threat. He might go off and deal with threat, but you might be dealing with secondary threat or maintaining the preservation of his life, in whatever way that may be, that kind of helps the overall family unit have a chance at survival at the end.
Okay. So at the end, or towards the end of the seminar, we all grouped together kind of to gather our thoughts, and Lacey talked about her about the mama bear instinct and why women shouldn't just assume that some adrenaline will kick in and they'll know what to do, like they'll do the right thing, they'll fight off the attacker. And Sonny brought up a scenario.
So Sonny brought up the possibility of one of my kids getting hit or taking a bullet, and
basically it was obvious that something happened to one of your sons, that it was obvious they were not going to live.
Right. And I have 2 sons, so the scenario was, do you go after the one that is down, or do you take the other one who isn't down and get out of the line of fire, out of danger? So that is something that I don't think mothers want to envision. I don't think people want to go there mentally. And we kind of talked about how when earlier on in training, Sonny said something about ego and ego in training, and how ego is a something that people have to deal with in training to get over for training to be effective. And I was thinking, well, women don't have egos. Only men deal with that. But then realizing that I have a very strong mama bear mentality, and how that can hurt and not help sometimes when it's assumed, every time I'm going to face an attack, this is how it's going to go, and we're going to do A, B, and C, and D, and threat gone, eliminated, every single time. And the possibility of having to make hard choices, or being faced with disengaging from a fight, or something like that, it feels very heavy to sit and think about that. And where men might be thinking, oh, I don't want to lose this fight, women might be thinking, you come after my children, and both of those mentalities can get in the way of effective training.
Thank you all for watching. It was a very informative seminar that we attended, and we would really like to emphasize that everyone watching this video pursue not only self-defense training in general, but good groundwork, because as we said, especially if you're a woman or someone who's weaker physically, chances are if someone is charging you, attacking you, you may end up on the ground, and it is very disorienting. So do not just assume that you'll know what to do when you're on the ground, and do not assume that you will have the space to draw your weapon. You may need to create that space if you are knocked to the ground. And I will post multiple links down below. I'll post a link to Eli Knight's channel if you're interested in what he does. I would highly enjoy seeing his collaboration with Sonny. They both share the same principles, and they're both very objective. So I'll post a link down below to his channel, Sonny's channel, and Lacey's channel if you're interested in learning more about traditionalism
And domesticity.
and domesticity. Right, thank you everyone. We'll see you next time.